Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia, and today we're starting a brand new Let's Talk Lore series covering the rise and fall of Gongsun Zan. In our first episode titled A Handsome Man, we'll look at Gongsun Zan's path to becoming a regional warlord. Now Gongsun Zan was born into a gentry clan in the fringe northern commandery of Liaoxi, but despite his gentry origins, his mother was a low-born concubine. And with other older brothers from the main wife, Gongsun Zan was treated as a second-class citizen within his own home. His father would eventually find him a job as a county secretary for administrator in the nearby commandery of Zhuo once he had come of age, as he was effectively exiled from his own clan. Fortunately, Gongsun Zan was a tall, handsome young man with a big booming voice, who also hailed from a respectable gentry clan. So the local administrator, with the surname of Hou, decided that he would be a good match for his own daughter. So in around 174, Gongsun Zan would marry the daughter of the local administrator, Lady Hou, and through his father-in-law's connections, Gongsun Zan managed to secure a mentorship with Luger, who was a well-respected Confucian scholar from the Zhuo commandery. Now at this time, Luger was serving as the administrator of Jiujiang in southern China, but he had always been happy to take on students from his hometown commandery, as he had been a teacher there before entering politics. So in 175, Gongsun Zan, along with two other classmates, would set out from the Zhuo commandery to travel down to Jiujiang to study under Luger. And in case you're wondering, those two fellow classmates would be Liu Bei and his older cousin, Liu Deran. At this time, Liu Bei was just 15 years young, as he was leaving home for the first time thanks to the generous funding from his uncle, who decided to pay for both his own son, Liu Deran, and his nephew, Liu Bei, to have this rare opportunity to study under a respected scholar in Luger. As the distance from the Zhuo commandery to Jiujiang was quite far, this life-changing trip to put Luger's name on one's resume would not come cheap, and had Gongsun Zan not had help from his father-in-law or Liu Bei from his uncle, neither of them would have been able to afford this chance, as Gongsun Zan was a throwaway son of a gentry clan, while Liu Bei was an impoverished descendant of a Western Han prince whose father had died young, leaving him behind with his mother to sell straw mats and shoes just to get by. But despite their hardship, neither Gongsun Zan or Liu Bei treasured this opportunity to learn, as they would spend the majority of their time down in Jiujiang, racing horses, going out on hunts, and listening to music at the local inn. Regardless, both were able to put Luger's prestigious name on their resume, as despite their age difference, the two bonded in their time together studying under Luger. But the good times are always short-lived, as just a year later, Luger would be summoned back to the capital to continue his work writing the history of the Eastern Han dynasty. Only 16 at the time, Liu Bei would return to his hometown in the Zhuo county of the Zhuo commandery, while Gongsun Zan, who was now in his mid-20s, decided to follow Luger to the capital to see if he could find any work in the imperial court. In the end, without the necessary connections or the wealth to bribe the eunuchs, all Gongsun Zan could find was a job as a carriage driver for Liu Ji, who was the administrator of the Nanyang commandery just south of the capital. Yet not long after, Gongsun Zan would lose this job too, as for reasons not recorded in history, Liu Ji would actually lose his administrator post, as he would be sentenced to exile in the Jiao province. As Liu Ji had treated him kindly, Gongsun Zan, who was now jobless and far from home, decided to travel alongside the imperial convoy escorting Liu Ji south, for he was worried about Liu Ji's health, as he tried his best along the trip to take care of Liu Ji. Fortunately for the both of them, Liu Ji would be pardoned halfway through the journey and restored to his former post. Now thankful for Gongsun Zan's care, Liu Ji would recommend Gongsun Zan to the courts as he would eventually be awarded an officer post in the Liaodong commandery close to his hometown. Now back in the north, Gongsun Zan's main responsibility was patrolling the borders as the Xianbei nomadic tribes would conduct raids from time to time. And his moment of fame would come soon as one day, while on patrol with a few dozen of his men, Gongsun Zan ran into a Xianbei raiding party, numbering close to 200. At first, Gongsun Zan's party tried to flee, but as the Xianbei raiding party already spotted them, they gave chase. So Gongsun Zan quickly told his men that if they continued to run, then the Xianbei raiding party would just pick them off from afar with their bows, as they could not outrun them. So their only shot at survival was to turn around and fight. Thus Gongsun Zan, with a spear in hand, turned his unit around and charged right into the Xianbei raiding party. And after a fierce exchange, Gongsun Zan's unit would manage to kill off a dozen or so Xianbei raiders, while losing roughly the same number of men. While the Xianbei raiders still vastly outnumbered Gongsun Zan's men, they decided to pull back, as they were not expecting such a dogged resistance since their usual raids were almost always unopposed. Gongsun Zan was lucky to survive this fight as he would return a hero, and not long after, Gongsun Zan would be promoted to become the mayor of Zhuo County, which happens to be Liu Bei's hometown. Then from 178 to 184, Gongsun Zan would continue to make a name for himself as a staunch defender of the borders, which is why in 184, when the government decided to form a 3,000-man strong Wuhuan Cavalry Auxiliary Regiment from the You province to help out with the Liang Rebellion out west, Gongsun Zan was selected as the commander of this unit. Now this decision would have many reverberating effects. First, armed with this skilled Wuhuan force, Gongsun Zan would immediately become one of the more powerful military powers in the region. Second, and perhaps more importantly, the selection of Gongsun Zan did not come without opposition, as at the time, the chancellor of the princedom of Zhongshan, Zhang Chun, had tried to nominate himself for this position to the Grand Excellency Zhang Wen, who was in charge of dealing with the Liang Rebellion. But for whatever reason, Zhang Wen felt Gongsun Zan was the better choice. Yet this decision would upset Zhang Chun to the point of rebellion, as he would end up rallying with a local wealthy gentry member by the name of Zhang Ju, and gather an army of roughly 9,000 men in open rebellion against the Han. And this would become a rather serious rebellion, as Zhang Chun and Zhang Ju would end up linking up with Qiu Liju, who was the Wuhuan chieftain in Liaoxi, as the three of them would ravage the northeast, killing the lieutenant of Wuhuan, Gong Qichou, the administrator of Youbeiping, Liu Zheng, and the administrator of Liaodong in Yangzhong. Claiming territories from both the Ji and the You province, Zhang Ju would make himself as an emperor, while Zhang Chun would go by titles Tian Jiangjun and An Ding Wang, which means the General of Heaven and the King who brings stability. Thus, with the northeast being pillaged, Gongsun Zan and his 3,000 Wuhuan cavalry would never head west, as instead, they would be reassigned with the task to put down the rebellion that had been indirectly caused by his very appointment. And with that, our episode will end here, as we'll return next time to see Gongsun Zan face off against Zhang Chun and Zhang Ju's rebellion, as this war will cement Gongsun Zan's status in the north. So hopefully you all enjoyed this episode enough to hit that like button to help out the channel, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!